30,000 years ago, there was no such thing as a dog. There was the wolf, cautious, wild, keeping its distance from the fire. And there was the human, a creature without fangs or claws, warming itself by that fire and staring into the darkness with unease. Between them lay a gulf, instinct against instinct, fear against fear. And yet, something happened. Something so quiet that no one recorded the moment. No one witnessed it. Simply, one day, the distance between them became a little smaller, then smaller still. And on some nameless night we will never know, two creatures lay down by the same fire, and both felt safe. Today, a dog sleeps on the couch beside a person staring at a screen, oblivious to its breathing. But in that breath, 30,000 years of partnership. The longest, the strangest, the most inexplicable. Why the dog? Why not the horse, the cat, the raven? All intelligent, all living alongside us. What made it the one creature a human calls a friend? The answer lies deeper than it seems, and it changes everything we thought we knew about ourselves. When people talk about the domestication of the dog, they usually picture a deliberate choice, as if some human once decided, "This animal will do," and brought it home. But domestication never works that way. It is slower. It resembles not a decision, but a drift, as imperceptible as the movement of continents, and just as irreversible. The earliest traces of coexistence between humans and a proto-dog ancestor date back roughly 30,000 years. Bone fragments found in caves in Belgium and Siberia. DNA analysis revealed no longer quite a wolf, not yet a dog, an in-between creature, living on the edge of the human world, close enough to share warmth, far enough to remain itself. Later, around 20,000 years ago, a burial was discovered in the Czech Republic. A human and a dog, interred together. Not as an object, not as a tool, as kin. The dog's skeleton lay as if placed with intention, beside the human, not beneath their feet. This was before agriculture, before cities, before writing, before everything we call civilization. But already, after something had arisen between two species that required a ritual of farewell. The first wolves to dare approach human camps did so for food. People left scraps, bones, the remnants of a hunt. Wolves, natural scavengers, found advantage in this. But among them were particular individuals, those who feared humans just slightly less than the rest. Not braver in any general sense, simply a little less frightened by the presence of a person. And these animals gained access to resources unavailable to others. They survived more often. They bred more frequently. Their offspring inherited the same reduced wariness. And so selection began, not driven by humans, but by life itself. Generation after generation, the ones who tolerated human proximity survived. Those who could meet a human's eyes without panic. Those who could remain close and not flee. Not because some hunter or herder decided it, because near a human camp there was something the forest lacked. Reliable food, protection from rivals, warmth, a new ecological niche. And it shaped a new kind of creature. Scientists call this process self-domestication. The animal was reshaping itself, not because humans were intentionally selecting for traits, but because the new environment created new pressures. The body responded. Muzzles shortened, ears softened, tails became more mobile. Piebald coloring appeared where it had never existed before. This was no accident. It was a side effect of reduced anxiety. In less stressed animals, hormones work differently, and the neural crest develops differently. A dense band of embryonic cells from which both behavioral traits and physical ones emerge. One internal shift, and everything external follows. A shorter muzzle, rounder eyes, a gentle gaze. All the features a human perceives as childlike and endearing did not appear because anyone selected for them. They appeared as a shadow, cast by the reduction of fear, by a mechanism no one controlled. This same process was reproduced in a laboratory by Soviet geneticist Dmitry Belyaev. Beginning in 1959, he selected foxes on one criterion only: their response to humans. The calmest animals were bred together, generation after generation. 40 years later, roughly 580 generations, he had foxes with floppy ears, patchy coats, and curved tails. They wagged, they licked hands, they climbed into laps. No one selected for these traits, only for calmness. Everything else came on its own. That is how domestication works. And that is exactly how, slowly and without a laboratory, a wolf once became a dog. The human did not create it. The human was the condition under which it created itself. It is worth grasping the scale of this transformation. Modern dogs, from the Chihuahua to the Irish Wolfhound, belong to a single species. Their diversity exceeds that of the entire canid family combined. More than 400 recognized breeds, each with its own skull shape, coat type, instincts, behavior. This is not the product of thousands of years. Most modern breeds were created within the last 200 years of deliberate selection. Humans took what nature began and pushed it to the limit. The herding dog, with the instinct to circle but never bite. The terrier, willing to go underground. The retriever, with a soft mouth, carrying prey intact. Each breed is a frozen fragment of one behavior, amplified to an extreme. Humans literally disassembled the wolf's psychology and reassembled it piece by piece. And while this was happening, humans changed too. They began to see in these creatures not a threat, but an opportunity. The dog barked at danger before the human could sense it. The dog followed a trail into territory no eye could see. The dog held warmth on a cold night, a living blanket, breathing and warm. The alliance proved beneficial for both sides, and it was sealed not by law or contract, but by something more durable. A habit stretched across millennia, a mutual dependence that became second nature for both of them. But this still does not explain friendship. Utility is not friendship. A tool is useful, but you don't bury a tool beside yourself. To understand what happens between a human and a dog at the biochemical level, we need to look at one hormone, oxytocin. It is called the bonding hormone, the trust hormone. Sometimes, not quite precisely, but evocatively, the love hormone. It is released during embraces, during nursing, during a mother's gaze at her infant. And it is released, as Japanese researchers at Azabu University demonstrated, when a human looks into the eyes of their dog. Not just any look. Specifically, when a steady, deliberate gaze passes between them, oxytocin levels rise in both, in the human and the dog simultaneously. This is a feedback loop previously thought to be exclusively human or maternal, the bond that forms between a mother and infant during breastfeeding. It turned out that two different species, separated by millions of years of evolution, reproduce the same chemistry, simply by looking at each other. The dog gazes at the human softens. The human gazes back. The dog calms. And both sink deeper into a state the brain encodes as closeness, as safety, as home. Wolves do not do this. Even those raised by humans from birth, even fully socialized ones, they avoid direct eye contact, perceiving it as a challenge or a threat. This is deeply embedded in the body language of a predator, where looking another in the eye signals dominance or aggression. The dog, over thousands of years of shared life, learned to read the human face. And not just to read it, to respond to it, in ways that make the human brain react as if to something familiar, as if to its own. Neuroscientist Gregory Burns at Emory University conducted something remarkable in its methodology. He trained dogs to lie still inside an MRI scanner, without anesthesia, without coercion, using only positive reinforcement, and measured brain activity in response to different stimuli. Food, praise, the scent of a stranger, the scent of a familiar person, the scent of their owner. When dogs were given their owner's scent to smell, just the scent, with no person present, the caudate nucleus activated, the same region that lights up in humans when anticipating something good. When expecting joy, not fear, not satiation, joy specifically. It was not food that produced the strongest response, not a toy. The scent of a human, on its own, without anything else. Burns is careful with language, as a scientist should be, but in the book he wrote after years of this work, he put it this way. The data suggest that dogs value their owners positively, not merely as a source of food, but as something worthwhile in itself, as a relationship, not a function. The caudate nucleus does not lie. It activates without conscious intention. It responds before the animal has had a chance to decide anything. This is not learned behavior. It is something deeper. Research into dogs' cognitive abilities yields even stranger findings. Dogs follow a human's gaze, just as young children do, but not to the same degree as chimpanzees, our closest relatives. They understand the pointing gesture, and this understanding requires no special training. It arrives as if built into the firmware. Wolves raised by humans do not have this. It is a distinctly canine trait, emerged through coexistence with humans and only with them. Hungarian researchers led by Adam Miklosi used brain imaging to examine how the dog's brain processes the human voice. The areas responsible for emotional sound processing respond to human intonation in the same way the human brain does. Joy in a voice, and the same region that lights up in us brightens in the dog's brain. Anger in a voice, and the anxiety response mirrors our own. They don't just hear us, they resonate with us, at the level of neural architecture built by a shared history. There is one more detail that seems almost unbelievable. Dogs understand unfairness. An experiment replicated across several laboratories. 2 dogs are asked to perform the same action, shake a paw. One is rewarded with a treat, the other is not. After several repetitions, the second dog stops obeying. It does not simply lose interest, it shows signs of distress, turns away, avoids contact. It responds to inequality. Wolves, in an analogous experiment, continue performing the action regardless of whether they receive a reward. This is specifically a dog trait, one that grew by all accounts from millennia of life in human society, where fairness carries social weight. Over 30,000 years side by side, the dog's brain and the human's brain have come to resonate with each other. Not because one submitted to the other, because both were changing in the same direction, toward a shared language, without words. And here begins a paradox that few dare to say aloud. Everything that makes the dog such a perfect companion, its sensitivity, its attachment, its ability to read a human and respond to them, was not created for the sake of friendship. It is a byproduct, an evolutionary instrument, honed by survival, not by closeness. Every trait the human reads as love has its explanation in terms of fitness. Puppy features, the rounded muzzle, the soft eyes, the drooping ears, are not merely an aesthetic. They are signals that the human brain reads as infantile, and therefore automatically activates a caregiving response. Evolution built humans this way. At the sight of certain facial features, the impulse to protect and nurture switches on. It works with infants, it works with kittens, and it works with dogs. Because over thousands of years, dogs acquired precisely the features that trigger this mechanism in humans. The high pitch of a whimper activates in humans the same neural circuits as an infant's cry. This is measurable and reproducible. When a dog whines, a parent's brain responds almost identically to a crying child, not because humans are sentimental or naive, because the dog found the key to a door that opens from the inside. The ancestral dogs that could elicit attachment in humans received food, shelter, and protection. Those that could hold a gaze survived. Those that could appear helpless and endearing at the right moment passed that ability to their offspring. Selection worked not in favor of cunning or strength, it worked in favor of the capacity to find an echo in the human heart. The dog does not manipulate consciously. It does not form plans or calculate moves. It is simply finely tuned to human frequencies, to the need to be needed, to the need for unconditional loyalty, to the fear of loneliness that lives in every person beneath layers of habit and occupation. And here arises an uncomfortable question. If all of this is an evolutionary strategy, if every tail wag and every upward glance has an explanation in terms of adaptation, can it still be called love? Mikloshi offers a careful answer. It is impossible to know what a dog experiences in terms of subjective feeling, but its behavior is functionally identical to what humans call attachment. It seeks its owner under stress. It calms in their presence. It suffers in separation. And this is not poetry. It is a measurable rise in blood cortisol upon being separated. Its body responds to the absence of a close being the same way a human body does. Functionally, this is love. Subjectively, unknown. But here is a strange thought. The same question could be asked of humans. When a neuroscientist looks at a person in love, they see oxytocin, dopamine, norepinephrine, a cocktail of chemical compounds, each with its evolutionary explanation. Attachment to a partner is advantageous for reproduction. Love for a child is advantageous for gene transmission. Friendship is advantageous for cooperation and group survival. The entire emotional life of a human, viewed from sufficient distance, also turns out to be a set of adaptive strategies. And yet no one says, therefore, love does not exist. Perhaps love is simply what an evolutionary strategy becomes when it has lived long enough and gone deep enough. In 1984, something happened in northern Alaska that was described in different ways afterward. Some called it luck, some called it a miracle, some called it statistics. A musher named Paul Crawford set out on a passage with 6 sled dogs under conditions that forecasters would later call anomalous even for that region. The temperature dropped to minus 62 degrees Fahrenheit. A blizzard closed the horizon with white noise. Crawford lost his bearings within hours of the storm's onset and lost consciousness in the snow, far from any shelter. The dogs stopped. Not because they were given a command. Crawford was in no state to give commands. Not because they had been trained for this. No such protocol exists. They simply stopped. They gathered around him. They lay down, forming a ring of bodies around the motionless man. 6 living heat sources pressed together and against him. They remained like this for 7 hours until rescuers arrived. When he was found, his core body temperature was critically low, but he was breathing. 4 dogs survived. 2 died of hypothermia, the ones who had lain on the outer edge of the ring, taking the full force of the wind. No one told them to lie on the outside. No one explained that it was dangerous. No one chose. Who would face the cold? This is not an algorithm. This is not a conditioned reflex. To explain it through training is impossible. To explain it as random behavior is implausible. What remains when all other explanations are exhausted? Something that looks like a choice. There are hundreds of such stories. Dogs that barked for hours over the place where their owner had fallen until people came. Dogs that found their way home across thousands of miles of unfamiliar terrain, without a map, without a scent trail, without any explanation that fits within familiar frameworks. A dog named Bobby from Silverton, Oregon in 1923 walked nearly 3,000 miles in 6 months across mountains and plains and returned to his family. No one knows how. And Hachiko, an Akita from Tokyo, whose story became legend not because it is extraordinary, but because it describes with unbearable precision something for which there is no adequate word in any language. His owner, Professor Hidesaburo Ueno, died of a stroke at work in 1925. Hachiko waited for him at Shibuya Station that evening. The professor did not come. Hachiko went home. The next day, he came again, and the next. Every day at the same time for 9 years and 9 months, until his own death. He was fed, he was cared for, he could have bonded with someone new. He did not. He simply waited, not knowing there was no one left to wait for, or knowing and waiting all the same. How does one explain this through advantage, through neurochemistry, through evolutionary fitness? One can try. Ritualized behavior, looping after a loss. This is a known phenomenon in social animals. The disruption of a familiar pattern triggers anxiety, and the animal repeats the action that once relieved that anxiety, hoping to restore the original state. This is plausible. This is scientifically sound. But something in that explanation doesn't close. There is a gap. And in that gap, something the human recognizes. Not because they are projecting their emotions onto an animal, because they see something familiar. Science knows how to measure, but it has not yet learned to explain certain things, and honest science admits as much. Why do dogs anticipate epileptic seizures 20 to 30 minutes before they occur, earlier than any medical instrument? One hypothesis? Scent. Subtle biochemical changes in sweat and exhaled air that precede a seizure, detectable by a nose with 300 million olfactory receptors. But documented cases exist in which a dog began behaving differently before its owner was anywhere near enough to be smelled. It changed behavior, became restless, insistent, refused to leave while still in another room. Exactly how it perceived this, unknown. Dogs diagnose cancer. This is no longer anecdote. Documented cases have become clinical studies. One conducted in Japan showed accuracy in detecting colorectal cancer from breath samples above 98%, higher than standard diagnostic methods. The mechanism is partially understood. Tumor cells release volatile organic compounds that enter exhaled air. But how the dog processes this signal among a billion other molecules, how it consistently identifies that one pattern, remains beyond complete understanding. Dogs sense approaching earthquakes. This is recorded across many cultures, independently of one another. Japanese, Chinese, Italian sources document unusual animal behavior hours before tremors. Science offers explanations through infrasound and changes in the electromagnetic field, reasonable hypotheses. But none has been verified thoroughly enough to close the question. And there is something else that science is only beginning to study. A question that sounds almost philosophical, but is in fact entirely empirical. Did the dog change us the way we changed it? Some anthropologists think, yes. The presence of a watchful animal near the camp allowed our ancestors to sleep more deeply, without needing to keep part of their awareness in a state of readiness. Deeper sleep means better memory consolidation, more effective nervous system recovery, more flexible thinking the next day. Accumulated across thousands of generations, this may have provided cognitive advantages, small but consistent. The alliance with dogs also transformed human hunting. The dog follows a trail where the human nose is blind. It drives prey into exactly the position the hunter needs. It holds the quarry until the human arrives. This meant a better diet, more protein, more fat. A change in diet is a change in metabolism. A change in metabolism is a different body, a different brain. We think of the domestication of the dog as our achievement. The truth is more complex. It was a mutual process, and its consequences for humans we are only beginning to understand. What does a dog feel when left alone? A study conducted in Austria by Claudia Fugatz's team showed dogs separated from their owner show elevated cortisol, an increased heart rate, and specific vocal behavior, even those considered independent. The brain does not respond to separation as an inconvenience, as a loss, as the disruption of something it considered permanent. What exactly the dog experiences in those hours, we do not know. Whether it has something resembling longing in the way we mean the word, with memories, with mental images, with the sensation of time moving slowly, is unknown. The canine brain is smaller than the human's. The prefrontal cortex is thinner. But the limbic system, the ancient emotional circuitry, is structured similarly to ours, and it activates during separation. It feels something. What exactly lies beyond our words? And perhaps this is precisely what makes this alliance so strange and so important. Two beings who can never fully understand each other's experience, and yet find a way to be together that matters to both of them. In large cities, where people live in cramped apartments and rarely know their neighbors by name, it is often the dog that gives a person a reason to go outside, in the cold, in the rain, in exhaustion. The one that demands they slow down. Studies show that dog owners have wider social networks, not because they are inherently more sociable, but because the dog creates situations for contact. On a walk, at the park gate, in the hallway. It is a social catalyst, living and warm, demanding attention right now. In homes visited by therapy dogs, blood pressure in elderly residents drops steadily. This is not anecdote, it is a statistic from controlled studies. The frequency of depressive episodes falls. People who had not spoken a word in weeks begin to talk, first to the dog, then to the people nearby. Something thaws. Something that had been locked opens. Children raised alongside dogs suffer less from allergies and asthma. This is not metaphor and not coincidence. It is immunology. Early contact with an animal's microbiome trains the immune system to distinguish between threat and non-threat. It becomes less reactive, more resilient. A body that grew up beside a dog is literally structured differently, at the cellular level. Veterans with post-traumatic stress disorder who are assigned service dogs report a reduction in the frequency of nightmares. The ability to leave the house that had been absent for months. A return to life, gradual, uneven, but real. One of them said in an interview, "She doesn't ask what happened to me. There's nothing to explain. She's just there." And that turns out to be enough. Perhaps that is the essence of it. The dog does not ask for explanations. It knows nothing of the past and makes no predictions about the future. It lives in what exists right now and accepts the human as they are in this moment. Hungry, exhausted, angry, broken, happy. It makes no distinction. It is here, and he is here, and that is enough. For a human living in a world full of conditions, expectations, and judgments, This is a rarity, almost an impossibility. The unconditional acceptance that philosophers describe as the ideal of relationship, the dog embodies not out of principle and not out of virtue. It embodies it simply because it is built that way, because its world is a world without yesterday and without tomorrow. Only now, only this person, only this moment. And the human who experiences this every day, gradually, often without noticing, begins to absorb something. The habit of being here. The habit of noticing the small. The habit of presence. Perhaps this is the essential lesson this creature has been trying to teach for 30,000 years. There is a study that rarely appears in popular articles but deserves attention. Psychologist June McNicholas in the United Kingdom studied people who had endured serious loss, the death of a loved one, divorce, grave illness. Among them were those who lived with dogs and those who had no pets at all. 1 year after the crisis, dog owners showed lower levels of depression and higher levels of social engagement. Not because the dog solved their problems, because it never let them shut down completely. Because every day, in any state, in any weather, they had to get up and go outside, had to fill the water bowl, had to meet the gaze. These small obligations kept people anchored in life at the moments when they were ready to let go. 30,000 years ago, two creatures found themselves beside the same fire. One was frightened, the other was hungry. Neither was looking for friendship. Neither understood what was happening. Simply, the distance between them grew smaller, and it became a little warmer. Today, their descendants live in the same homes, sleep in the same beds, face loss and joy together. Scientists measure oxytocin and read brain scans. Geneticists analyze sequences in which this history is encoded, millions of nucleotides preserving the trace of every choice, every winter, every fire. Philosophers ask what it means to feel and what it means to know. They have not arrived at an answer, and perhaps they never will. Because this alliance does not exist in the space of answers. It exists in the space of what happens between living beings, quietly, without words, without explanation. Somewhere, right now, on a couch, on the floor, on a doorstep, a dog rests its head on a person's hand, not because it was asked to, not because it was trained to make this gesture, simply because he is there, simply because, for her, that is the entire world, this person, this moment, this warmth. And he looks at her, and something in him, ancient, deeper than words, deeper than language, recognizes this, responds, softens. The fire of that first night has long since gone cold, but the warmth remained, and it has not gone anywhere.